Hello fellow Death Knights, this is Zeryth here. So this is going to be a patch 5.4 preview guide, and I'm just going to be going over all of the changes in patch 5.4 and what you're going to see with the Death Knight class, and how they're going to be acting in 5.4. So I'm going to be coming out with a series of guides. I'm going to go over the Frost talents, the Blood talents, and the Unholy talents on 3 separate guides. So just be looking out for that. Now, this guide is just going to be me going over the 5.4 Death Knight changes for each spec. I'm not going to go into a Blood spec, I'm just going to go over the changes because I don't really play Blood, and I already have the other 2 specs set up. So let's just jump right into it. So for the general category, Deathgate now returns the Death Knight to a location near their original departure point when the spell is cast while in Ebon Hold. Now this is something I've been looking forward to for a very long time. They never really put this into effect, so I'd always have to hearth back to my hearth spot, which used to be Dalaran, but now it's over in Pandaria. So it's a really cool little feature they finally added, so I'm happy about that. Now this one's really awesome. Not many people will think it's like that big, but Icebound Fortitude no longer costs Runic Power. That's a huge buff because you don't really need to pool Runic Power to get an Icebound Fortitude off when you're taking a lot of damage. So you can keep conversion up and pop an Icebound Fortitude without having to worry about your Runic pool as much. And you can even use it at the beginning of fights to mitigate damage and break stuns from rogues and stuff. So I really like that change. Necrotic Strike now deals 100% weapon damage, down from 150% weapon damage. Now I don't know if that affects the absorption of Necrotic Strike at all, but I'm going to go test it out a little bit. I'm in a Frost spec right now, so let's just see how much it absorbs. So that's 83k. On Live Realms it does about the same, so basically they buffed the melee damage of Frost Death Knights by 30%, and I'll be going over that change in a little while. But Frost Death Knights hit really hard right now, so it's awesome. But yeah, they nerfed Necrotic Strike weapon damage itself, but the absorption might be the same. So that's not too big of a deal, I don't think. Rune of Razorice now causes 3% extra weapon damage, Hold on. Rune of Razorice now causes 3% extra weapon damage as frost damage, up from 2%, and I'm sorry about my reading, oh my god, I'm horrible. Each stack of frost vulnerability now causes the target to take an additional 3% damage from the Death Knight's frost attacks, up from 2%. So that's a pretty cool little change. They buffed Rune of Razorice, that'll be really cool for one-handers. I always like using two-hand weapons because I like the hard-hitting obliterates I get from it. But some people will enjoy that change if you're dual wield. So that's a cool little addition to the Frost Death Knights. Soul Reaper initial damage component has been increased by 30% if the target is below 35% health after 5 seconds. The amount of shadow damage dealt has been increased by 20%. So they buffed Soul Reaper really hard. So that is awesome. I feel like it doesn't do enough damage anyways because it does like, I want to say 50k after that 5 seconds is up. If the target's below 35% health, it does about 50k damage. Now it does even more, so 48k without the 35%. So that's a nice little buff to Death Knights. Unholy Presence now grants a flat 10% haste to all things, up from haste for melee, attack speed, and rune regeneration only. The movement speed buff remains unchanged. So they buffed Unholy Presence a little bit. Frost Presence is still the way to go. I'm going to stick with that because of the increased runic power generation you get. So those are the general category changes. I'm going to go into the Blood tier right now. I'm not going to go into a Blood spec yet. I will for the Blood Death Knight guide, but not for this one. So I'm just going to go over the changes real quick because I don't really play Blood that much, but I know how to. Riposte is a new passive ability learned by Blood Death Knights at level 78. When the Death Knight dodges or parries an attack, they gain 75% of their parry and dodge as an additional bonus to critical strike for 20 seconds. So basically that's a nice little damage buff. It gives them more crit. and it's a pretty cool little change. So now they'll do a bit more damage. Dancing Rune weapon no longer costs Runic Power. That's a huge buff. That'll increase their burst and make it a lot easier for them to burst. And they can use their Runic Power on either Death Coils or Rune Strikes. Sanguine Fortitude no longer reduces the cost of Icebound Fortitude, because Icebound Fortitude no longer costs Runic Power. Scent of Blood now also has a chance to activate when the Death Knight dodges or parries a melee attack. That's a pretty cool change, so that's a nice little buff for the Blood Death Knights as well. So, all in all, Blood Death Knights are getting buffed. So, heading into the Frost category, I'm in my Frost spec as of right now, and they buffed Frost a lot. So I'm pretty pumped about this. So, Frost Strike now deals 115% weapon damage, up from 105% weapon damage. So if you notice, my Frost Strikes do a lot more damage too. When I use them on killing machines even. I'll use this one on a killing machine. 157, unbuffed this is. I had Unholy Strength. I don't even have my Horn of Winter up. Now we'll do an Obliterate. Boom! 365. Nice. That's unbuffed. Can't stress that enough. That's cool. Might of the Frozen Wastes now increases all melee attack damage by 30%, up from 20%. So, melee attack damage has been buffed by 10%, which is why you're seeing these really hard-hitting Obliterates. Also, because Obliterate now deals 250% weapon damage, up from 230%. 20% more Obliterate damage. Oh my god. This will be fantastic. I'll even show you guys a little burst. There we go. I'll pop some burst. Boom. Boom. 400k. Sorry about me moving around. I won't move around. You guys don't really like that, so I'll try not to. That was a 206k non-crit. Of course this is on level 85s, but it's no big deal. So, the last change for the Frost talent tree is Howling Blast now deals 15% more damage. So, your ranged damage will be a lot more for Howling Blast as well, which is pretty neat. So, all in all, Frost is getting buffed big time, and I'm going to enjoy playing Frost a lot more than I did this patch. Now, moving into the Unholy tree, they're getting buffed as well. Alright, I have this all set up. So, Master of Ghouls now reduces the cooldown of Raised Dead by 60 seconds. So, that's a nice little buff. Raised Dead has been buffed a lot, so rather than having to worry about the 2-minute cooldown, when someone kills your ghoul you only have a minute cooldown instead. So, that's awesome. Ghoul's Leap and Gnaw abilities are no longer on a global cooldown and no longer cost energy. So I don't know what the deal is with this, but I really can't control when my ghoul uses Gnaw, unless I have it attacking. So if it's attacking, I don't think I can control it. See, it just stuns it. But it used to be right here, so I don't know what the deal is with that. So I can't control that anymore at the moment. But maybe they'll fix that for live. This video should be up before the patch hits live, so this is just kind of a preview thing. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but yeah, that's a little annoying. I mean, it's off global cooldown and stuff, but I also can't use it when I want to. But who knows, maybe they'll fix that. Unholy Might now increases the Death Knight's strength by 25%, up from 10%. So that's a huge buff for Death Knights. If you notice, my strength is now 23,000. As Frost, it's a lot less. So I'll just show you guys some burst. I mean, I don't have recount on this, but I do have the new armor set, which looks pretty cool. And I move anything. So looking at my strength now, it's only 18,000, but when I go back into Unholy, it's 21,000. So I'll just show you some burst as Unholy, and then I'll show you guys some duels as well. So going through these changes as well, they made a few talent changes. Anti-Magic Zone has been redesigned. The talent now reduces the magic damage taken in area of effect by 40% for 3 seconds. There's no longer a cap on total damage absorbed, and the ability no longer scales with strength. So it just absorbs 75% damage or 40% damage for 3 seconds. See, that's like, it seems like that's really short to me. So you have to use it. It's a really skill-capped skill. You have to use it in moments of high burst, and it could be of use. So who knows? Maybe I'll use it. I still like my my Lichborn. So yeah. Death Siphon had its damage increased by 10%. Buffed Death Siphon a lot. So that's probably not going to be good because I don't like wasting my Death Runes on Death Siphon. I like using them on Necrotics. But I also like my conversion. So it's still a pretty good talent. Plague Leech now tries to convert 2 fully depleted runes up from 1 into a Death Rune based on spec. So Blood restores 1 Frost Rune, 1 Unholy Rune. Frost, 1 Frost Rune, 1 Unholy Rune. And Unholy, 1 Blood Rune, 1 Frost Rune. So it just basically tries to convert 2 depleted runes into Death Runes. So it has a 25-second cooldown. So I'm probably going to stick with Rolling Blood for BGs and maybe go into Plague Leech for arenas. But we'll see. We'll just mess around with it right now. Okay, here we go. Boom. 2 fully depleted Death Runes. Nice. Boom. Boom. So as you can see, I actually do a lot more absorptions with Unholy Necrotics rather than Frost Necrotics. So that's like 900k right there. So those are the talent changes. Still going to play with them a bit, but that's what's going on with the talents. Now there's a bunch of new glyphs, and I really like these new glyphs. Glyph of Festering Blood now makes Blood Boil treat all targets as if they have been infected with Blood Plague or Frost Fever. So that just increases the damage of Blood Boil, and that's I'm not going to use that because it's a major glyph. Maybe if it was a minor, but I don't care about my Blood Boil damage. I just care about using it to spread dots when I use it. But you can use Pestilence as well. So going into Rolling Blood, you can spread damage. But yeah, Glyph of Regenerative Magic. If anti-magic shell expires after its full duration, cooldown for the ability is reduced based on the amount of damage absorbed. So I can use this I can use AMS offensively, and you'll notice the cooldown gets reset to 20 seconds. So that's really cool. I like that because I like using AMS offensively rather than defensively, and so I'm going to go into that glyph instead of a couple other ones. There's a lot of different glyphs you can go into. I'll just keep going over them. So Glyph of Swift Death. Haste effect granted by your Soul Reaper now also increases the Death Knight's movement speed for the duration. So when you kill someone with Soul Reaper, it increases your haste and movement speed by a lot. Probably not going to go into that because it's such a brief movement speed increase, but it's still kind of a neat glyph to have to mess around with. Glyph of the Loud Horn. Horn of Winter now generates additional runic power, but the cooldown is increased. So it generates 20 runic power instead of 10, but the cooldown is increased by like 20 seconds, which isn't really a problem. I'm not going to use it as a major glyph, but I'm going to probably still stay with Glyph of Shifting Presences, because I like that one. But yeah. Now for the new major, the major glyph changes. Glyph of Enduring Infection now reduces damage dealt by diseases by 15%, down from 30% reduction. So they buffed that a little bit. I'm probably not going to go into it unless I'm messing with my one-shot macro as Frost. I don't like my diseases being dispelled, so yeah, that'll be cool. So the next change we have for the major glyphs category is Glyph of Mind Freeze now reduces the cooldown of Mind Freeze by 1 second and raises its cost by 10 runic power, down from 2 seconds and 20 runic power. So I don't use Glyph of Mind Freeze because I don't like it costing runic power to use in the first place, because sometimes when I'm defensive and I need my runic power for conversion, it'll prevent me from using Mind Freeze. So I don't mind having the 15-second cooldown and the 4-second lockout. So that's just my thought. You can try it if you want, but I prefer to not care about something like that. Glyph of Outbreak now causes Outbreak to cost 30 runic power, down from 40. Again, I don't like taking from my runic pool, so I'm okay with the 1 minute cooldown, I guess. I mean, people could try it, but they'd have to sacrifice one of their main glyphs, and I wouldn't want to do. I wouldn't want to get rid of Glyph of Anti-Magic Shell or regenerative magic, or even shifting presences if you're facing a burst team. But yeah, that's your choice. I recommend try it out, mess around with it, see how you like it. Glyph of Pillar of Frost now reduces movement speed by 70% instead of freezing the Death Knight in place. So that's a buff to it, but it makes them immune to loss of control of the character. But it now reduces their movement speed by a lot, so I don't think I'd want to sacrifice all my movement speed because I wouldn't be able to get to the target. So, like I said, try it out, see how you like it. But that doesn't seem like it's a very big buff. I never thought that glyph was very important anyways. Now they have 2 new minor glyphs. Glyph of Long Winter. The Horn of Winter ability now lasts for 1 hour. As you can see, I have that up, so it's really cool. I think it's really cool because you don't always have to worry about your Horn of Winter, and it still has a 20-second cooldown. So you don't always have to keep casting it every 5 minutes. And Glyph of the Skeleton. So as you can see, my ghoul is now a skeleton, and he's badass. So I can stun, and he's just this big old skeleton guy. So I think it's pretty cool. And they also fixed a bug, I guess. Fixed a bug that causes improved blood presence and runic corruption to incorrectly increase activation rates of some trinkets and effects. So all in all, those are the Death Knight changes for patch 5.4. So I'm really looking forward to them. They're huge buffs, and I'm just going to show you some burst real quick before I move into the next part of it, which is some duels. So let's just burst the target down a little bit. Get some of this stuff going. Get some death runes going. Boom. Just look at all the damage in a sec. Couple death runes. Some necrotics. Boom, boom, boom. Now look at all the damage. Get some Unholy Frenzy. Ooh, ooh, this damage. So nice. Use this. Get some more necrotics out. Nothing's gonna live through that. So Unholy Burst is gonna be nuts next patch. And I'm ready. I'm super excited. Can't wait, and hope you guys enjoy. But oh yeah, I hit 1950 today. It was my last push. I was gonna try to get to 2K, but my partner had to log off. So next patch is the patch where I'm gonna head for 2.2K in 3s and 2s. So hopefully I can get there, and with these buffs I think it'll be great. So without further ado, hope you guys enjoy these duels, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
I